stop what you're doing right now. I'm not kidding. If you're in the B2B space and you've ever wanted to try LinkedIn ads, you have got to go and listen to this episode I did with AJ Wilcox before starting your campaign.
Now I've spent over 150 million on the platform.
You'll also never meet somebody who gives away this amount of free information when it comes to LinkedIn advertising.
When you pay by the impression, LinkedIn charges you more than it should. It's not until you have ads that are performing 2 to 3 times the benchmark average before all of a sudden you hit that break-even point.
In this episode, AJ is going to teach you how to avoid the most costly mistakes
In the bidding and budgeting section, the option that they default to is called, and it is the most expensive way to pay for LinkedIn traffic 90% of the time.
But on the flip side, he's also going to show you how to run the cheapest campaigns and get the most out of them.
The cheapest option, the lowest cost, is actually hidden. There's an option that says...
And for everybody who sticks around to the end, I'm going to give you a link to AJ's advanced LinkedIn advertising guide. This thing is filled with thousands of dollars of advice that took AJ tens of millions of dollars in ad spend to figure out. You're also going to want to stick around to listen to what AJ has to say about the future of advertising on LinkedIn.
I think we're going to see more and more thought leaders adopting LinkedIn organically so that they can...
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Digital Revolution Podcast. I'm your host, Eli Adams. Today's episode is brought to you by FireUsMarketing.com, where SEO solutions pave the way to digital excellence. In today's episode, we're joined by AJ Wilcox. AJ is the founder and mastermind behind B2Linked.com, a LinkedIn ads performance agency that helps B2B companies build their sales pipeline through custom, tailored LinkedIn ad strategies. AJ is a renowned expert in digital marketing, specifically leveraging LinkedIn to skyrocket B2B engagement and success. With over a decade of experience, he has transformed B2Linked.com into a premier agency known for crafting powerful ad campaigns that resonate across industries. AJ isn't just a strategist, he's also a sought-after speaker and educator, regularly headlining major marketing conferences and sharing his insights through webinars and courses. With close to 40,000 LinkedIn connections and thousands of followers across Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, AJ continues to influence and inspire marketers everywhere. Recently, AJ has been in the spotlight for his commentary on the latest LinkedIn advertising trends and is currently expanding his educational reach with new online courses designed to help marketers harness the full potential of LinkedIn ads. His approach is straightforward yet impactful, focusing on data-driven advertising and maximizing B2B engagement through LinkedIn, principles that he not only preaches, but also puts into practice every day. So buckle up as we explore the cutting-edge strategies of LinkedIn advertising and learn how to make them work for your business. Welcome to the show, AJ.
Dude, so excited to be here. Thanks for the invite, Eli.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you here too. You and I have known each other since the Orange Soda days, which was like 15 years ago, something like that. It's been a while, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it absolutely has. And both of our careers have changed significantly since then. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I had a good time at Orange Soda. And, I interviewed Alex MacArthur about all the amazing people who have come out. And I believe that he specifically mentioned you in that podcast as well as one of the stars who have come out of Orange Soda. And it's been fun to follow your career on LinkedIn. It's been fun to meet up at events and stuff throughout the years. And I'm really excited to dive in and learn more about you on a personal level, but also really dive in and add some value around the LinkedIn ads area, which I don't know a lot about. So I'm excited to learn myself, and hopefully we'll add some value to the listeners as well.
Oh, sounds ideal to me. That's perfect.
Nice. So let's dive in and talk about who is AJ. So where'd you grow up? What'd you want to be when you were little? Let's learn a little bit about you on a personal level.
Yes, I grew up mostly in Arizona in a city called Mesa. Really enjoyed it. Went to high school there. Thought in high school I wanted to go into psychology or business. Couldn't really decide.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up leaving after that, right after graduation of high school, to go serve a religious mission.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and lived in Ukraine for 2 years, which is,
oh, wow.
With all the stuff that's going on in Ukraine right now, it's crazy and just pulls at my heartstrings.
Yeah, for sure.
All that. But after that, I came home. My parents had moved from Arizona back to Utah. And so I was like, well, I want to go to school in Utah anyway, at a school called Brigham Young University. I wanted to go to school there anyway, so no big deal. But it is really hard when you leave from one place and then you come back to another. Life was pretty much like, totally upended. But yeah, that was like my childhood. Loved Arizona. Loved don't really love the heat, but I loved everything else about it.
Mhm.
And then, you know, getting to serve a mission, learning to speak Russian, and then coming back to college.
Nice. So you went to college in Utah. Walk us through, like, how did you eventually get into digital? Was that in high school interested you? Was it in college that interested you? Was it just like you just happened to get one of your first jobs in the digital space? Like, walk us through that process.
Yeah. So when I was at BYU, I had to pick a major to begin with. And I was like, well, I know Russian and I know there's a lot of possible opportunities there with international business. So I want to do that. But then on the first day of declaring a major, they said you have to declare an emphasis as well. And I went, okay, I'm looking down all these different emphases. There's marketing, there's information systems, there's all these others. And I remembered back to when I used to watch Star Trek episodes with my dad when I was a kid. And whenever the commercials would come on, he would ask me questions like, hey, who do you think that commercial is targeting? Like, who do you think they think that they're talking to? Who is their ideal audience? And this is so funny because my dad, he's not a marketer. He's a finance guy. He worked for banks for his entire career. He just had kind of an interest and a love for TV commercials. And so as I was looking down there, I went, ooh, marketing. That sounds interesting. And I ticked the box, realizing that I could change at any time. But I went into the first marketing class that I had to take, and I absolutely loved the professor. His name was Doug Witt. He came from the world of automotive, and I love cars. And so all of his examples were automotive related, like, this is what Audi did, and here's an example from Mercedes. And like, it spoke directly to me. And that was the beginning. Like, I didn't even know really what marketing was. I just knew that I wanted to get into it because of commercials. And then as I learned more, I went, oh, this is awesome.
That's awesome. So you got into marketing that way. Like, was Russian kind of put on the side? International business kind of put on the side? You got into that class. You were so excited. Did things change in your major and you're like, let's do this all the way?
Yeah, I just realized that even though I kept taking Russian classes, my accent sucks. I'm never going to be someone who could sound native. All of the vocabulary around business, like, I knew the religious terminology, but I didn't know business terms. And so I eventually kind of gave up on that, but I fell in love with business and specifically marketing. And, you know, I've always loved technology. So I was working a job. It was the highest paying job on campus, doing like second level networking support for computers, systems, servers, and internet connections. And I loved it. I thought it was great. But the whole time I had this job, it was paying $13 an hour, which, you know, that was a lot
for sure
for, you know, part-time in school.
Yeah.
But I had the worries of a frenzied mind of a college student, which is like, I'm studying marketing, but all I know is technology. Who in the world after I graduate is going to hire me to do marketing when all I know is technology? And it was so funny. My junior year, we had a guest lecturer come into one of my marketing classes, and he talked about search engine optimization. And my eyes just, like, you know, popped open. I was like, this is amazing. This is what I want to do for the rest of my career. This is marketing plus technology. And so I went up after class and I begged that poor man for an internship. He brought me on. I learned SEO. I learned Google Ads and, you know, HTML, some CSS.
Yeah.
And that was really the beginning of my digital marketing career. And none of those skills the school was teaching. They were all stuck in like pre-digital marketing times. And so this was cutting edge back in 2007.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. And what's crazy to think is everything that you're doing right now didn't even exist back then either. Right. So to be super excited about SEO, which was my first real introduction into the marketing space. I mean, I remember I built my first e-commerce website in 2003, 2004. And I went to my brother and I was like, what do I do? And he goes, well, just go to Yahoo, because Google wasn't really big at that time. And he goes, search all these directories and go put yourself on these directories and like start to build that way. And so that was the beginning for me into SEO. And I look back a lot like in high school, and if somebody would have said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, everything that we're doing doesn't exist, right? So it's pretty cool that we got into it. We both got into it through SEO, which I think is really fun and still a really strong channel in the marketing world at this point.
One, so grateful for people like Alex MacArthur, like your
Yeah.
brother, who were willing and able to learn and share these strategies with people like me, because I didn't know where to look. I didn't know how to study this stuff.
Yep.
And they were pioneers who, allowed
Yeah.
us to learn, and that started my career.
Absolutely. Was it Alex that came and talked, or was that somebody else where you got an intern?
No, it was actually Bruce Rowe who
Okay.
who runs SIBO marketing.
Okay.
And yeah, really interesting. After SIBO marketing, I worked there for about a year, kind of as an intern, and then I went to Orange Soda, and that's where we met.
Okay. And okay, so Orange Soda was like a pivot point for me where I was like, okay, this is something bigger. I remember getting hired there and looking at how many thousands of people needed help online and thinking there's more to this than what I was just doing sort of on the side before. Did you have sort of that same realization?
Oh, totally. It was so interesting to see, like, working at Orange Soda. I think I had a book of business of like 200 or something sites that I was responsible for.
Yeah.
And the sales team would just keep bringing on more, and we kept losing ones who, we'd worked for some time. And I went, this seems to be a never ending stream of business. Like, I didn't realize the world was this big.
Right. So I also remember Orange Soda. This is where Facebook ads started. I remember, was it, I think they moved Jake Berry. Do you remember him? They moved Jake Berry onto that Facebook team, and he's like, I got to figure it out. Like, there was no training, there was nothing out there, and he had to figure out how to do Facebook advertising for some of these companies that signed up for that package. I mean, how much has changed since then? Walk me through the process of you being at Orange Soda doing SEO, getting into LinkedIn ads, and being like a world-renowned expert in LinkedIn ads now. What does that journey look like for you?
Yeah, I love that you asked this question, because it's every new marketer I talk to that asks my advice. Like, there are some things that are really good to learn from being in an agency. You get this breadth of experience over all kinds of different industries, and you get to find out what it is that you like, what you don't like, what kinds of business excite you.
Yeah.
At the same time, working in-house somewhere, usually there's a bigger paycheck because agencies generally don't pay as well as an in-house gig.
Yeah.
But when you're in-house, generally they hire you for what you are capable of doing, because they don't have that capability already. So what you end up doing is getting a higher paycheck to go somewhere where you don't have that brotherhood and sisterhood of people sharing, like, hey, I just ran this test and it worked like this, that I thrived off of. I wanted to test, and quite frankly, I wanted to chase the paycheck. So I left Orange Soda to go to a home theater, home automation company.
Okay.
They do a lot of installations of home theaters here locally, but they also had ideas for a new product that they wanted to launch nationally. I thought, hey, this is a really good fit. Turned out to be that they didn't expand. They didn't create the product nearly as fast as I was hoping they would. And within about the first 5 or 6 months, I got all the way to the top of the search engine results for their top 3 keywords. So we had steady leads coming in. I got the Google ads working really well. That was fun. But there wasn't really a whole lot for me to keep learning, keep diving into. And I was, on top of that, I was doing a whole bunch of like in-person shows, like trade shows, home shows, where I would show off the technologies. And that's not really what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
So after about a year of that, I got recruited by another local company here called Domo.com.
Yeah.
And this was back when they had just changed their name from Corda to Domo. It was before their IPO. I was their first digital marketing hire. And they brought me in because I knew SEO and Google ads, display, and a little bit of coding. So it seemed like a pretty good generalist.
Yeah.
On my very first day, I'm talking to the CMO and I'm laying out, here are the strategies that I want to execute. And I remember her saying, all that sounds good. Go ahead and execute. But just so you know, we started a pilot with LinkedIn ads about 2 weeks ago. See what you can do with it. And I saluted and said, yes, ma'am, because I didn't want to look stupid to my new boss.
Yeah.
But I had never heard of LinkedIn ads before. I didn't even know it existed. And I went and dove into the platform just trying to figure things out. I took a lot of the same strategies that I was used to with Google Ads, applied them to LinkedIn, and lo and behold, after about 2 weeks, my sales team came up and said, "Hey, AJ, we don't know what you're doing over here, but we're fighting over your leads. Keep it up." I went and dove into the CRM because I'm like, what leads are they talking about? And I saw every single lead that they had mentioned to me was sourced from LinkedIn ads. Wow. And that was not the only ad channel I was running.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, there has to be something to this platform. I continued to invest, loved the platform. I actually really came to enjoy LinkedIn ads, grew that to become LinkedIn's largest spending ad account at the time over the next 2.5 years, had really tight relationships internally at LinkedIn with the product team. I was getting to kind of direct and help and share and see where their product was going. And yeah, at that point I went, okay, there's probably more than just this one company that could probably use help with LinkedIn.
Yeah, man, that's, I mean, to be a pioneer in an area like that, I bet it was intimidating and rewarding at the same time.
Oh yeah. We all have the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't really think it goes away.
Yeah.
But certainly my thoughts the entire time were like, wow, I just stumbled into this. Like, I'm not smarter than anyone else. I'm not more capable at running LinkedIn ads than anyone else. I've spent, tens of millions of dollars so far trying to figure it out. And now I want to share. And it's a skill that I have that I love that I could actually build a business around.
So that's a really good segue into like what you're currently doing. So let's talk about what you're currently working on.
Yeah. So this was 2014. So almost 10 years ago, coming up on our 10-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. I left Domo.com to start B2Linked. And I didn't know what it was going to become. All I knew is I loved LinkedIn ads, and anyone who wanted LinkedIn ads help in any way, I wanted to be able to provide that. Mm-hmm. What that turned into was about 95% was managing people's LinkedIn ads for them like an agency, mm-hmm. and about 5% where they wanted me to consult. Hmm. They wanted to manage it themselves. They just needed an expert set of eyes to help tell them where things were going wrong.
Yeah.
And, 10 years ago, like, no one cared about LinkedIn ads. It might as well have not existed. It was a tier 3 platform.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, very different marketing a product that nobody wants. But here in the last, I would say 3 or 4 years, LinkedIn ads have gotten really hot. Now I have competition. There are other agencies who they call themselves LinkedIn ads agencies. Mm-hmm. Other people are sharing content. And it kind of has become the world like you and I grew up in digital marketing, where I learned SEO because everyone who knew was sharing. I learned Google ads because the people who were good at it were sharing. They were blogging. They were on live chats and stuff. Yeah. So now LinkedIn advertisers actually get to learn in an environment where it's not just AJ teaching people. It's now several voices, many voices.
What are your plans to stay ahead of that competition with other agencies? Like you are one of the original agencies, which definitely helps set you up for success. But what are you going to do to differentiate yourself and make sure that you continue the momentum that you've had over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the breadth of content that we've released, because anyone can now come out and start a podcast, start a YouTube channel. But because I have, I think we're 138 episodes into the LinkedIn Ads Show podcast, have that back catalog that shows that I've been doing this since the very beginning. Mm-hmm. YouTube, I want to do a lot more with YouTube than I'm doing, honestly. Yeah. But I think it's just like, I don't ever want to fall behind and let someone else accelerate faster. I want to always be creating content and letting people know, like, this is what I love and I love to share for free. And I think it's karma. Karma comes around, and people do tend to appreciate who's giving them the most value and not asking for anything in return.
I love that. So like, if we look at all the platforms, there's a lot of different platforms to advertise on. What are the key differences between advertising on LinkedIn versus other social media platforms?
Yeah, well, I think that's the biggest differentiator is it's social media. Because if you look at something like search, Google Ads, SEO, people are coming and searching for a keyword that they know that they need or want more information on. That's great. If your category doesn't have an established keyword, let's say you're a disruptive new product or service, no one knows to search for it yet,
Mhm.
then the very best way to get in front of people is to get in front of the right people and show them ads introducing like, hey, this exists. You should know about it. So social media in general is this like, we're not targeting people by keyword that they might be looking for. We're targeting them by who they are personally. And in LinkedIn's case, who they are professionally. Then we get to introduce something to them for the first time. It's really similar to like that of Facebook ads or Google ads, where you can say, like, I'm bidding. Here's how much I'm willing to pay when someone clicks on my ads. Here's a daily budget I want to stick under. But where LinkedIn really shines is it has a monopoly on your business data, because every time that we change careers, we get a promotion, the first place we go is LinkedIn, because that's where people go to check for, what we're doing. And so we can target people by their job title, their level of seniority, their industry, company size, skills on their profile, the individual names of groups that they're members of, and probably 20 other things other than that. Be able to target just your absolute ideal target audience, which is amazing, especially in business to business.
Yeah, the amount of information LinkedIn has to sort of distinguish the professional side that other social platforms don't have, I think really sets it apart in this part of the industry, right?
Yeah, there is no equal. And I don't owe anything to LinkedIn. I really wish there was a competitor or multiple competitors, other ways of reaching these audiences. I would use them in a heartbeat. But right now, no one holds a candle to LinkedIn for access to that data.
Wow. So you've been doing this for 10 years. You have I'm sure you've seen lots of companies start it and not do so well, and then come to you and say, hey, we need help. What are some of the most common mistakes you see companies make when trying to run their own ads? By the time they get to you and you're like, hey, scratch all this, let's start over and do this. What are some of those common mistakes?
It's really silly, but all of the common mistakes that really cost advertisers a lot of money, they're all the things that LinkedIn tells them to do. When you go and start your very first campaign, there's a whole bunch of things that LinkedIn auto checks that they say recommended, they make it a default option. And those things tend to be the most expensive thing for advertisers. I'll give you a few options,
okay,
or a few examples. The first is when you choose your geographic targeting, the option that they set on there is recent or permanent location. That means, they don't tell you this, but what that means is, let's say you're targeting New York City. There's a lot of people from all over the world who visit New York City on vacation. And so even if they live in Pakistan or the Philippines or Africa, so they may not be in the market for your product or service that you're specifically targeting people in New York City for, all of a sudden, for the next 6 months, they're seeing your ads and you're like, wow, why are we getting leads when we're targeting New York? Why are we getting leads from all over the world? That's generally why. It's like, so all you do is to fix that is just switch that to permanent location. The next one down is, as soon as you choose your ideal targeting, and you really can't go too wrong here. Like, most people start with job titles because that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Right after that, there's a little box that LinkedIn auto checks called enable audience expansion.
Okay.
And what that is, like, we're already paying a premium to advertise on LinkedIn. And if you're limited on budget, wouldn't you want all of that budget to go just to your ideal target audience? Makes perfect sense. But LinkedIn auto checks this box where they're like, hey, we're going to stick a bunch of people who weren't included in your targeting into your campaign. And that can hurt your lead quality pretty significantly. Another one is in the bidding and budgeting section, how you're going to pay for this traffic. The option that they default to is called maximum delivery bidding. And it basically means LinkedIn can bid as high as it needs to spend your budget every day. And it is the most expensive way to pay for LinkedIn traffic 90% of the time. The cheapest option, the lowest cost, is actually hidden. There's an option that says, click here to see more options. And it only reveals one. It's a manual cost per click. And if people would select that and don't follow LinkedIn's bidding suggestions, they're going to suggest like, hey, other people like you are bidding $20 to $80 per click. Screw that. Just start by bidding like $6, $7, $8 per click and just see like how high you need to bid just in order to fill your daily budget. That are like, those are the handful of things that would probably cut advertisers' costs in about a quarter.
That's incredible. So just those three things you just put in this little bucket, I think has made this whole podcast worth it. Like if I'm just going to crop that out and I'm going to put that out on social, and I'm telling you, that is probably something that businesses, I mean, they probably don't know, right? Like I want this podcast to do well on YouTube, just like you do, like you're talking about learning more on YouTube. And so I've been going to conferences, I've been watching videos, and some of the settings that these experts say, hey, go through and change these settings, they're hidden. Like I don't know about them, right? But watching these experts teach about that on YouTube, allowing me to go in and optimize, is similar to what you're doing right here, helping those companies who currently have their ads running. If they go and make those 3 changes, they'll probably see a significant difference in their campaigns moving forward.
Oh, huge. Whatever budget you had, all of a sudden now you can multiply the effects that you have by 2, 3, 4 times.
Wow.
Because now your costs are reduced, but you're still reaching the same or better audience.
I love it. So that's somebody who already has their ads running. What if I'm a new company that's listening to this and they're like, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't got into it? Maybe we go ahead. Let's just jump into the tactical section here. If I'm a new company, I'm listening to this and I don't have enough money to hire an in-house person, I don't have money to hire an agency, but I definitely know I need to get started on some LinkedIn ads. What do you recommend for me? What advice do you have for me to get started?
I actually have a free guide for this.
Oh, perfect.
Because when I first started advertising on LinkedIn, something like this didn't exist. I had to figure it out all myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I spent about $10 million before I finally went,
wow.
Oh, I get it. I understand how this works. So now I've spent over 150 million on the platform. And I've come out with a free guide. It's not like, download the guide and AJ calls you and texts you unendingly. No, like this is just free. We don't even ask for your email address. You can just go to b2linked.com/checklist. And I want to say it's like a 15-page in-depth guide of like, here's everything that you need in order to get started advertising. It ticks every box for like, if you want to get ads up like this week, here's everything you need to do it.
Okay, so everybody who's listening on YouTube, I'll put that up on the screen. I'll put it in the show notes, the description, so everybody can click on it and go do it. Very generous of you to give that free information. Just like Gary V's jab, 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 right hook. He's always given free information, and I feel like you do the same thing. Following you on LinkedIn, you're constantly doing that same thing, given so much value. So I appreciate you doing that. Can you explain the importance of content in LinkedIn ads and how to create engaging content?
Absolutely. So your content on LinkedIn is really made up of 3 parts. The first is, what's the ad format that you're choosing? On LinkedIn, we can choose like a single image with text. We can choose video. You can use a document where people can slide through, like a carousel. Lots of different ways of showing your ad. But pick one that you want to start with. Single image is the easiest. I would say video can be the most powerful if you're good at video creative. So we can certainly talk there. But then you have your visual. I'll hold up 2 fingers here. Your visual piece and your written copy.
Okay.
The visual piece, if it's something static, like an image, here's what I recommend. Okay. LinkedIn's whole color palette is all like blues, grays, whites. If you want to stand out, and blacks too, if they're like in dark mode. Mm-hmm. If you want to stand out against those colors, what you do is you look at where blue is on the color wheel. This is what designers use. You look at opposite. Opposite of blue is orange. So we know that if we saturate images in orange, reds, greens, purples, these are going to be the colors that are going to contrast and pop. And realize that in your visual component, the whole job of your visual imagery is just to get people to stop scrolling so that they'll actually look. So don't try to actually convert someone in the image. I've seen too many people trying to write like, oh, and here's here's some supporting line, and here's a price, and here's a link, and make sure to put our logo in. You can make an image way, way, way too busy. Instead, just focus on getting your image to get them to be a scroll stopper. Then number 3, your written copy. This is where you can actually show them like, hey, here is the actual value to you. We realize people on LinkedIn are usually really busy. They're scrolling through their feed really quickly. And so you need to get the value out as fast as possible. Like, here's why it is valuable to the prospect. This is what's going to get their attention. And that's really it. Like, if you can put together compelling copy that tells why they should pay attention with an imagery or video that gets them to stop and actually pay attention, whatever it is you're offering, it's going to give you the very best chance of success.
I've never heard that take before with looking at the color wheel and going opposite. I love that approach. Very insightful, man. Let me ask you a question about the video portion of it. I know on some platforms, it's like the more organic, raw video is like higher converting. Is that the same on LinkedIn, or is it like you need something super professional, suit and tie guy talking, or like what type of video seems to do the best on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. I've tested all kinds of different video. Most of the time when clients say, hey, we want to try video ads, they give you some file that's like 4 seconds of fading from black to their logo, and it costs tens of thousands of dollars in a creative studio to create, and it's B-roll and all that. I just find, like, with very few exceptions, I can't get those videos to perform at all. But on the other hand, the founder or an internal thought leader speaking directly to camera for 15, 20, 30 seconds saying, here's something that you need to know about what's going on in the industry, or here's a tip or trick or strategy that's going to make your job easier. And then, this can be very rough. Like, just you speaking to your phone is great. And then overlay with animated subtitles that you might see on like TikTok, Instagram. Yeah. And all of a sudden these become the highest performing creative that we've ever seen on LinkedIn. It's amazing.
With the subtitles, I'm curious to know in the data, are you able to see a conversion whether the sound is on versus off? Because I've seen some data and I have some assumptions that most people, I know that like when I have kids around and stuff, I'll scroll through with the volume off and I'll read just the subtitles. And some of those get me to click, some of them don't, just through the subtitles. Do you have that data on the back end of LinkedIn? And if so, how does it perform with the sound on versus off?
Yeah, I think your instinct is right on here. LinkedIn won't tell us about conversions with sound on or off, but we do know that it's something like 80-something% of people are going to watch the video with the sound off. And so I just assume it's all going to be off. My subtitles need to do all the work in getting them to say, all right, what is this? Like, let me turn this on and listen.
Interesting. So I know there's been some recent changes in some of the features in LinkedIn. How do you see the recent changes in LinkedIn's advertising features affecting B2B marketing strategies?
I think it's huge. So just about a year ago, LinkedIn released its newest ad format called Thought Leader Ad. And it sounds more complex than it really is. All of the other ads that we've had on LinkedIn, they show as coming from your company page. So they'll show like promoted by company name, and they'll have your logo and the number of followers that your company page had. Those ads on average have about 0.5% click-through rate, meaning 200 people see the ad, one person ends up interacting with it. Not all that great. What thought leader ads are, this is the ability to promote a personal post. So rather than coming from the company, this comes from Eli Adams and has your picture and your title, the number of followers that you have. This represents you. And all of a sudden you take exactly the same message from what the company said to what you're saying. And now our click-through rates all of a sudden catapult to like 2 to 11%. So we're talking about orders of magnitude more engaging posts and content. Why is this? Like, why does a person engage so much more than a company? I think that's just, we as humans, we engage better with someone who has a face that we know, like, oh, I know, like, and trust that person. I can connect with them versus a faceless organization. Like,
yeah, I've talked to a lot of marketing leaders, and I've talked about this multiple times on the podcast. And I actually just released a YouTube short on one of those conversations where people don't follow brands, they follow people within the brand. So if you're a CEO or a leader or a CMO or somebody within the company or even an ambassador that is talking about the brand and the products and promoting it in a non-promotional way, people will buy those products because of your story, because of what you're going through, the effort that you're putting into it. Not necessarily them just come out and say, like, here are the pros and cons to buying this product, but like, here's the journey we had to go through to get the product to this quality for you, right? Like, and so I would imagine it's very similar on the paid side because it's more personal. And I remember, I think the pendulum swung a little bit back and forth over the years, because I remember in the beginning, company pages on Facebook were advised to have a face on it because they converted better. And then it went to logos converted better. I think algorithms change, obviously, but that's interesting from the paid LinkedIn side. That sounds like a fun feature. Are there other features that have recently come out that have helped conversion like that as well? Or is that the biggest
I
one?
think so. That was last year. They would let you promote an employee's post. This year, as of April of 2024, they would let you promote anyone's post, even if they were a customer and it was a testimonial, or even if it's an influencer that you want to partner with. So now there's all kinds of great uses for, like, whose post can I sponsor as the company?
Yeah.
And like I said, because click-through rates are so much higher, we know with ad platforms, when engagement rates climb, costs drop.
Mm-hmm.
So cost per click from companies used to cost $10 to $16 a click. Now, coming from personal posts, we're seeing clicks cost between $1 to $2. So again, orders of magnitude difference. The people who used to have to put LinkedIn ads aside and say, oh, too expensive, won't work for us, all of a sudden now have a pathway to do this, which is incredible.
That's awesome. I should have asked this in the beginning, but maybe let's get a little clarification. If I'm listening here, who is LinkedIn ads for and who is it not for?
Yeah, what I've found is because costs per click are like $10 to $16, and someone's going to need to click and interact with your brand multiple times before they ever become a customer. Like, if you do the math and figure that out, you probably want to make sure that you have like a lifetime value of $10,000 or more from a customer. Otherwise, LinkedIn ads could be really expensive.
Okay.
We've worked with some SaaS brands who charge, $10 a month or $100 a month for their product. And we look at it and go, man, for what we have to, for how much ad spend we need to put in to land a customer, they would have to stick around for years for an ROI to happen. And so I found, like, oh, if you're going to make $10,000 or more, that's a total no-brainer for LinkedIn. You can make it work for under that.
That's solid. Okay. That's great advice. We've talked about this offline a little bit, but I know there's a handful of maybe controversial topics on LinkedIn that I'd love to dive into a little bit. So you mentioned that max delivery bidding versus manual CPC bidding can be somewhat controversial throughout LinkedIn agencies or LinkedIn experts. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So that was one of those pitfalls that I told you about where people are spending too much. On one hand, we look at it as, like, if you use max delivery bidding, there are some benefits. Number one, you're paying by the impression, and LinkedIn knows who your target audience is, how often they log in, how much time they spend. And so it's really good at planning and distributing your budget during the day. They're also incorporating a lot of AI and machine learning to try to be able to optimize towards certain kinds of things, be able to optimize towards those who are more likely to click, more likely to watch a video, more likely to fill out a lead form. So all of these things, like max delivery bidding, when you use it, you're really giving LinkedIn all the tools and all the control to be able to test all those things. And it becomes really easy to manage your budget. There's not as much babysitting. Okay. On the other hand, I also mentioned that when we use max delivery bidding, we end up paying more than you would by using a manual CPC bid 90% of the time. And when, like, the reason for this is, when I look at platforms like Google and Facebook, they've done a really good job of saying, like, hey, based off of averages, how much you pay for the 1,000 impressions is equal to how much you'd pay for the click. They try to make it really equal and even. So regardless of how you bid, it's going to be about the same. LinkedIn didn't do that. And I never understood why. When you pay by the impression, LinkedIn charges you more than it should. So it's not until you have ads that are performing 2 to 3 times the benchmark average in click-through rate before all of a sudden you hit that break-even point where it's like, ooh, with a click-through rate over 1%, all of a sudden now maximum delivery bidding is the cheapest way to pay. And so we figured out what that is. Like, that's one of the things that we do for our clients is we're constantly monitoring their click-through rates. And anytime they fall below a certain point, then we change to a cost per click bid. Okay. Anytime they go above, we switch to maximum delivery, and we kind of modulate that back and forth to just always try to get the best costs.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are enough people conflicted about it online, especially with all the LinkedIn reps saying, hey, you should use the default here, because they don't know.
Sure.
It creates a lot of people who are totally sure of what to do.
Yeah, it kind of seems like from a consumer standpoint, somebody consuming the LinkedIn ads or using them, it would also be, confusing to them and saying like, well, I thought LinkedIn was going to work for me and then it didn't work for me, or it was too much, and they end up not using it, even though if they had somebody, behind the driver's seat knowing what they were doing, like you guys in your agency, then it could be something profitable for them. Whereas now moving forward in their future, they're going to be like, yeah, LinkedIn ads doesn't work, right? Or it costs too much, or whatever. So that's unfortunate. I know the other area of controversy is you talked about whether you rotate ads evenly versus optimize rotation. Let's talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, this one's a pretty hot button as well, because with LinkedIn, you have 2 options. So let's say you have a campaign that you want to show to your ideal target audience. Let's say you put 5 ads in that campaign. LinkedIn by default is going to do something called optimized delivery, meaning if, say, ad number 1 gets the best click-through rate, it's going to show that ad more often. And if, let's say, ad number 5 gets the worst click-through rate, you're showing the platform like, hey, this one's not engaging people as well. We should probably spend less on it. So there's this natural spread that happens where best ad gets the most impressions, the worst ad gets the least. And there is an override here. LinkedIn gives you an option called rotate ads evenly. I have to say, the option sounds really sexy. I'm a performance marketer. I love A/B testing, probably more than most people, to an unhealthy degree. It sounds awesome. What's actually happening when you use this option is it's not showing all 5 of those ads the same amount to see what performs. What it's doing is it's putting all 5 of them into the auction for an impression evenly, but it doesn't change the fact that the worst performer, when you enter it into the auction, it's either going to lose more auctions, and so you end up not showing your ads as much as you might want, or when it does win and you actually get an impression, you have to pay more because it's not as high of a performer. And so I call this the charge me more and show me less using it. Sounds really cool. And a lot of people online will still say, hey, I use this option and I like it. But without fail, every time I've ever enabled it, my costs go up, my impressions and traffic go down, and I always end up reversing.
If I understand correctly, what you're saying is when it's spread evenly, then they're all tested evenly and you can make decisions, whereas the optimized rotation sometimes is not really a fair test. Is that what you're trying to say?
It's kind of backwards.
Okay.
So the optimized rotation allows LinkedIn to show your best ads the majority of the times. And by doing that, it allows costs to come down. You end up winning more impressions in the auctions. And so you actually end up getting better reach at lower costs. Whereas if you're forcing it to like show evenly, which is really just enter into the auction evenly, you end up penalizing yourself, having more of your variations that shouldn't have been entered into the auction getting entered in and costing you more and having fewer impressions.
Okay,
so
I misunderstood you. Okay, so
really
that makes sense. So allowing them to do what they're good at, right? Using that algorithm, the ones that have the best impressions and clicks are the ones that increase, and the ones that don't are the ones that decrease. And so you're not spending evenly across or fighting through the auctions, right?
Exactly.
Okay, very interesting. Any other advice or topics in the tactical section that you would give to people either starting LinkedIn ads or who currently have it?
One thing I love to be able to point out on all the other platforms, they love big audience sizes, like especially Facebook. Facebook experts will tell you, have your audience sizes be at least 1 million, keep them really broad, let the platform find the people who are more likely to convert. With LinkedIn, it's totally opposite. I tend to keep audience sizes between about 20,000 to 100,000.
Okay.
And, you might still have an audience of people that you want to reach that's 1.2 million. I'm just going to end up breaking them up into 12 different campaigns rather than one big one. And what I love about this, I call this micro-segmentation. When you have your audience broken out by something, let's say it's job title against job title. In our case, we go after like marketing directors, marketing VPs, CMOs.
Yeah.
By putting those 3 personas in a separate campaign, we don't have to create more ads. We can show them exactly the same ads we were planning on. Now, through the data coming back, we now know like, oh, we have higher engagement rates from CMOs than we do directors, or our cost per lead or our cost per qualified lead. If we're tracking that far, all of a sudden those are lower or higher depending on who someone is professionally. And it's kind of like a silent focus group. It's like, you can think of it as market research. We're going to generate the same results, the same lead, same business as we would have if we kept everything broad. But now we're actually learning who is inside of our target market that most aligns with us, gets most excited. Who can we capture? When you know that, you now have a lever that you can turn one up, turn another down, get more of the stuff that was working really well, and start ignoring the audience segments or people who just are not interested. And you wouldn't know that unless you broke them out separately, analyzed them separately.
And did you come about this through just testing throughout the years?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. More of like, initially, I wanted to start learning like between CEOs and COO, what does this perform better? Who likes this better? And all of a sudden this became like I should do this for every campaign, because the information that we get also helps us with all of our future marketing. Now we know which audiences to go after in the future and who we can avoid and save our money on.
I love that. Where do you see the future going in LinkedIn ads?
I think right now, because those thought leader ads, like personal posts, because they're doing so well, I see in the future doing a lot more personally on LinkedIn. I think we're going to see more and more thought leaders adopting LinkedIn organically, so that they can be seen and make that personal connection organically. And then I think the marketers are going to be promoting those posts. I think in the future, these posts are going to be a lot more flexible, where we'll be able to attach like auto-filling lead gen forms to them. And, companies will understand like, here's how we need to make a personal connection with you so that you'll want to pay attention, so that you'll keep us in mind. It becomes a much more emotional driven decision rather than just how many impressions do we have to show to someone before they finally sign up to talk to a sales rep. It's going to get a lot more like scientific and psychological.
And personal. I can see that. I think that COVID did that to us a lot too. We need more human attention, right? And stop with the brand shoving in our face. And then now it's personal. And now the fact that they can take other people's posts, whether it's, testimonials or employees or whatever, and share that, I think goes a long way from an emotional and authentic standpoint for the company as well.
And those authentic messages, like we talked about with video, like they're performing better than something that looks like it was created by a marketing department. We are craving actual interaction from a human. And now with more and more that's AI created, I think now people are more skeptical when they see something, especially something personalized. They're thinking, is this really a real person who cares? Or am I just a number to this company? I think we're going to care a lot more about the personal going forward.
Can I give you a real life example of something that just happened this morning with me?
Please.
So it doesn't have to do with ads, but with AI. My wife sent me a picture of a great white shark, and it had a big, huge bite on the back. It looked like, I think that what they were assuming is it's like a megalodon. And she sent it to me and she goes, how are we going to know moving forward whether this is like an actual picture or AI? And the same could go for the ads. But as you were saying that, I was like, oh yeah, like, man, that's the future. The future is scary when it comes to AI and knowing what's real and what's not.
Oh, so true. deep fakes. I mean, you're going to have to second guess every piece of news you find of like, is this real or is this just a deep fake of something? I think we already have really good BS detectors for like sales pitches coming in from email and messages. I think we're going to get really finely tuned AI detectors of like, all right, is this something that AI created or is this real? And I think we as marketers are going to be able to provide a lot more value by saying, ooh, I'm going to create this because I know AI is not capable of providing this kind of value.
Yeah.
That's something I'm more like actively thinking of.
Yeah. I also think from talking about this with my SEO colleagues, I think that a lot of the content on the website or on the internet, whether it's images, videos, or words, is becoming more and more AI focused. And a lot of it is pretty easy to read and be like, that was obviously written by an AI. Some of it's not. I think what's going to happen with Google and the algorithm, though, is they're going to get to a point where they're like, 90% of the internet is written by AI. We're going to favor that which is written 100% by human, right? So I wouldn't get rid of the human aspect of your content just because AI can spit it out a lot faster, because I think Google's going to swing back, and it may be a couple of years from now, but I think Google's going to swing back and value more human content because anybody can put a prompt into AI. Not everybody can really write a well thought out post that answers questions from a human standpoint.
That's really smart. I think it's totally spot on.
Okay, so at the end of every podcast, I ask two different questions. So if you could go back to your younger self and give advice, what would that be?
Okay, let me think about this one for a minute because I think I did think about it, and now I'm thinking I need to change my answer. Okay, best advice that I could have given to my younger self or I would give to anyone else. If you have aspirations of being an entrepreneur, let's say you've seen people who run their own businesses, that's what you want to do when you grow up. I saw a lot of people in college who had like an entrepreneurship degree or emphasis. And I kind of looked at that and went like, okay, that's good. You want to start your own business, but realize like coming out of college, I couldn't have started what I've started today the same way at all. I had to go through that experience of working for agencies, working in-house, getting the different experience there, seeing different channels, and all of that experience being employed. It all was like getting paid to be trained. And now I found my stepping stone. I found all the stepping stones I needed to do to get to LinkedIn ads, which makes me happier than anything on the planet professionally.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to go all in on it. I would not have found that unless I was like getting paid by other companies to figure things out and get that experience. So all of that to say, if you want to be an entrepreneur, awesome, but don't think you have to go start your own gig immediately. Instead, work on what can I do to gain the skills and get paid to be trained on what's going to help me find what it is I'm best in the world in.
Man, that's so insightful. Like I look at where I'm at today, and there's no way I'd be where I'm at today if I wouldn't have gone through that same journey. Would I have liked to have invented something that sold for 100 million younger? Sure, right? But I am the person I am today. I'm the father I am today, the husband I am today, the worker I am today because of some of those challenges, right? Some job challenges make you a better dad, right? They make you understanding how to be a leader to somebody who's really difficult helps you have more patience and empathy for them going through that, right? Which you can then in turn become a better dad or a better father and a better entrepreneur because you know what mistakes not to make. You've been through the hard times, right? You know what type of leader not to be. And if you're like most people, you don't like your job, you opposite of like your job so much that you're like, I'm going to work so hard, I'm never going back to that, right? So there's a ton of benefits to working in-house, especially going through an agency and then in-house. So super insightful. I love that. Okay, so last question. Do you have any books, podcasts, or leaders that currently inspire you?
Yeah, I'm a bad reader. Like, not that when I open a book, I can't read and understand. I can. Yeah. I just hate it. Mm-hmm. And so I found audiobooks really early on in my career. And then I kind of evolved into podcasts.
Yeah.
And what I love about, there's so many podcasts I can list off in just all kinds of different topics. But I now listen to all of my podcasts 2.5 times speed because there's so much out there that I want to get, and I don't have time for it just during a workout or a commute. And that would be my recommendation to you is like, if you are wanting to learn about a certain topic, go find podcasts about the topic. What you'll do is you'll end up getting these authors who've written a 14-hour book, but they have to, in a podcast interview, they have to synthesize that into like a snackable 45-minute interview and share with you their whole body of knowledge, their life's work, and tell you in 45 minutes. That's a pretty cool Cliff Notes version.
For sure.
Kinds of podcasts that I love. There's a self-help kind of podcast that I love called The Jordan Harbinger Show. And he covers all kinds of different interesting stuff like world events to how to get better at certain things, and usually brings a pretty contrarian view you might not expect. So I love that one. I won't miss an episode. There's one called The Informed Podcast by Mark Williams. It's a LinkedIn only podcast. He shares on the organic side of LinkedIn, here's what's working, here's what's not, here's how to go viral. And again, can't miss an episode. Lots of other social media related. There's some like religion related. There's astronomy related stuff that I love. I can't get enough of podcasts.
I love that. And the 45 minutes that you condense in half when you do 2x speed too, right?
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jam that content in. Get it quick.
I'm the same way. When we go on trips, I listen to audiobooks when I'm working in the yard or cleaning the house. I do podcasts, and I listen to podcasts when we're driving too. And a lot of times I'll have this like aha moment, and I'll take out my headphones and I'll be like, to my wife, I'll be like, listen to this. And it's like, and she's like, slow it down. I can't hear it. But to me, it's normal speed. And when I slow it down, it seems so slow that I just can't take it. Right. But your brain catches up, and it does take time. If you can't do 2 speeds, start at 1.25. And then once you get used to it, go to 1.5 and then keep going. But I'm the same way. I love that. AJ, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be on the podcast. The amount of knowledge that you've shared and tactical advice that you've given for free is unlike anything I've ever heard or learned about LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn organic, I feel like I'm pretty good at, but the paid ad side, man, like before we even started the podcast, I didn't even know what questions to ask because it's so foreign to me, and I'm sure it is to a lot of people. And now I feel like this whole new channel has like opened up that I'm excited to dive in and learn a little bit more, based on some of your comments. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Well, thanks so much for the invite and for giving me a platform. And anyone who wants to learn about LinkedIn ads, I'm excited for you. It's such a cool channel that relatively few people have figured out the value of. And so you're still early. There's still cool opportunities. And anyway, thanks so much for giving me the platform.
You bet. How can people get in touch with you?
Really easy. Go search for me on LinkedIn. You can follow me there. If you send me a customized connection request, just say that you heard me on Eli's show, then I'll make sure I connect it, because I get a lot of those and I never know who's to receive. Also, B2Linked.com is our website. So if you go there, you'll be able to find out how to get in touch and see our podcast, our blog posts, all that. It's really easy to find. Well, and Eli, for your listeners specifically, anyone who really wants to understand LinkedIn ads at a very advanced level, I would love to offer you my advanced guide. It's all the same strategies that me and my team use to decrease costs and increase performance on LinkedIn. We want to give it to you absolutely free. It's just this guide alone, just the concepts here are the same things that we use to double, triple, quadruple performance, like a lot of the things we've talked about.
Wow.
If you are interested in getting access to that, just go to b2linked.com/advanced-guide. Maybe someday I'll come up with an easier to remember URL, but that's for your specifically for your listeners, Eli. Feel free, get access while we've got it.
I appreciate that, AJ. I'll put that link in the show notes so people don't have to remember it. If it's on YouTube, I'll put it on the screen as well. But super kind for doing that and offering that up to my audience. Again, I appreciate you taking the time today. And to everybody listening out there, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for listening to the episode today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider liking and subscribing on whatever platform you're on. And don't forget to leave a comment. Tell us what you thought about the interview. Ask us questions. Let us know what other digital topics you'd like to hear about in the future. We're here to add value to your life and elevate your digital presence online. If you'd like some help doing that, reach out to me at fireusmarketing.com. See you on the next one.